The classroom was a vibrant mosaic of youthful energy and diverse opinions, with students exchanging thoughts and laughter in anticipation of the day's lesson. Desks were arranged in a semicircle, allowing for open dialogue, and the walls were adorned with artwork depicting historical figures and events that had shaped the nation. The smell of fresh coffee lingered in the air from a nearby faculty lounge, weaving into the atmosphere where youth and education intersected. Professor Matthews, well known for his unconventional teaching style, stood at the front of the room, his posture commanding attention. With a reputation for igniting spirited debates on contentious issues, he began today's lecture with an air of confidence, ready to delve into themes surrounding nationalism and identity in America. Little did he know that his words would soon spark an unexpected confrontation. Today, he announced, "We're going to discuss symbols and how they can be interpreted in various ways." He paused dramatically, letting anticipation build among the students. Let's take a moment to consider the American flag. Here, he gestured toward a large flag displayed prominently on the wall behind him, an emblematic representation of pride for many. To some, he continued, his tone growing more provocative, the flag stands as an unassailable symbol of patriotism. But I have my doubts about whether it represents all Americans. I think it has become nothing more than a piece of cloth used to rally around misguided ideologies. Gasps rippled through the classroom like a sudden gust of wind that knocked over carefully arranged chairs. Students exchanged wide-eyed glances. Some leaned back in shock while others sat forward, intrigued by this unexpected turn in discourse. The atmosphere shifted from casual discussion to something akin to charged electricity, the kind that indicated a discussion would soon take center stage. Among those seated near the back was Barron, the son of a former president. He had grown accustomed to being in the spotlight, but also held firm beliefs about respect and patriotism instilled by his upbringing. Watching as his classmates reacted to Matthews's remarks stirred something within him, a sense of urgency to defend what so many considered sacred. The initial shock began to dissolve into murmurs as students whispered among themselves about Matthews's words. Some expressed disbelief at what they had just heard. Others nodded in agreement, emboldened by their professors' audacity. Yet Barron felt an unsettling tension build inside him, a compelling need to rise above mere passive observation. "Professor Matthews," Barron finally said, raising his hand cautiously but resolutely. Silence fell across the room like a heavy blanket. All eyes turned toward him. Curiosity hung palpably in the air, waiting for his voice to break through. He took a breath before continuing. "I think it's important we recognize what that flag means to so many people, not just as an outdated symbol, but as a representation of ideals we hold dear." His voice carried weight as he spoke from a place of genuine emotion rather than mere rhetoric. For a brief moment, time seemed suspended as eyes remained locked on him. Even Matthews appeared taken aback by this unexpected counterpoint from someone who typically observed rather than engaged openly in class discussions. The professor's expression shifted from surprise to intrigue as he regarded Barron deeply. This was not merely an interruption. It was an appeal for respect towards something profoundly valued. Barron pressed on, feeling emboldened by the collective gaze surrounding him. "To many Americans, including myself, that flag embodies hope, sacrifice, and unity during challenging times. That's more than just fabric. It's about everything our country strives for." Students shifted restlessly. Some who initially felt put off by Matthews' comments now found themselves nodding along quietly with Barron's unfolding perspective, and a sense of camaraderie blossomed among them. A blend of admiration for Barron's bravery and recognition of their shared feelings towards the symbol that had suddenly become a point of contention within their own lives. As Barron spoke earnestly about loyalty and unity, his passion evident. Matthews remained silent for several moments. After he finished speaking, that attention filled with potential filled the room rather than discord. Students were readying themselves for whatever exchange might follow next. Finally breaking his silence, Professor Matthews responded thoughtfully but firmly. "While I appreciate your sentiment and understand your attachment to symbols like our flag," he began slowly weighing each word carefully against those already uttered around him. You must also consider how such symbols can be wielded against our values. The classroom atmosphere changed again as students prepared themselves for what could become another round of verbal sparring between professor and student. A necessary engagement engendered by open dialogue, but tinged with uncertainty surrounding where lines might rest between education and personal beliefs, clashing together inside sacred spaces meant solely dedicated, sharing knowledge lovingly gathered over lifetimes. Each passing second seemed fraught with anticipation hanging thickly overhead. A realm collected into exhilarating tension, reminiscent battles fought valiantly, forging outcomes never once anticipated, awakening alignments, calling forth gravitas, rising boldly, unearthing genuine discord, stitched intricate fates, forever interwoven, emerging truths, erupting fervently, through vibrant exchanges gifted across age-old pathways, renewed, finding articulate expressions, embracing depth's journey encounters, spilling forth, joining hearts, wiring energized, reconciliating connections, bridging together vast differences, inspiring authentic engagement, mapping timeless circuits, echoing ever-vibrant realms, not striving alone, weaving legacies, offering echoes alive, nourished, embracing, stepping clearly, wrapped solemnly into wisdom, traversed everywhere, context beyond fading boundaries, reaching heights, shaping glimpses, shared, lifting intimately, forging, reckoning, countlessly reborn, awakened, leading vitalities, restoring cherished treasures sown, endlessly echoing surroundings, beckoning warm. Memories, woven heartstrings, reaching discoverable constructs, ever wiser approaches, cautiously preparing, generously embarking explorations, awaited manifest, delicate understanding, bearing witness, endlessly alive within persisting winds, ringing clarity, settling gently cherished dreams, nurturing budding realizations, uplifting, reaching towards brighter horizons, evolving pathways, traversable, encouraging all traverse, each noble. Stretch, embarked, expansive, longing, bridging, kindness, embracing ever. Flowing stories, sculpting devotion, nurturing souls, coloring freely, breathing anew, celebrating cherished moments together, gathering wise intent, illuminating futures, beckoned purpose intertwined, calling forth spring adventures ahead, unfolding, eternally laid upon roots long nurtured, prepared, bravely journeying onwards, awakened keepers, steadfast, paving roads, longing paths revealed, carrying all forward momentum, destined advance kindness, spreading pure harmony, enveloping hearts, preserving bright ideals echoed, forever illuminating wisdom, forevermore sought shelter, nurtured, eternally come alive. Barron Trump's upbringing is a tapestry woven from threads of privilege, public scrutiny, and unique family dynamic that has influenced his worldview. Born on March 20th, 2006, Barron is the youngest son of Donald Trump and Melania Trump. His early life unfolded in New York City, a vibrant and often overwhelming backdrop for a child growing up in one of the most famous families in America. From a start, he was thrust into the glaring spotlight that accompanied his father's business ventures and political aspirations. Despite the trappings of wealth and fame, Melania has been a stabilizing force in Barron's life, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a sense of normalcy amid their extraordinary circumstances. She is known for her protective nature, particularly regarding Barron's exposure to the media. This care extended beyond physical safety. It fostered an environment where values such as respect, humility, and hard work were paramount. That Melania's Slovenian roots brought a distinct cultural perspective to their household, where discussions about heritage and identity were commonplace. This foundation laid the groundwork for Barron's understanding of what it means to be an American. Education has played a crucial role in shaping Barron's perspective. He attended Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School, an elite institution known for its rigorous academic programs. Here, he was encouraged to explore various subjects while also participating in sports like soccer, which offered him an avenue to form friendships outside the realm of politics and celebrity. Through these experiences, Barron encountered peers from diverse backgrounds, a factor that would influence his views on national identity and belonging to. As he grew older, Barron became increasingly aware of the complexities surrounding public perception of his family name. While some might have expected him to embrace the public eye with open arms, he exhibited a more reserved demeanor. This reluctance stemmed from witnessing how scrutiny could affect those around him. His siblings responded differently to fame, each carving out their paths, yet often facing criticism or praise based solely on their last name. Public perception of Barron himself has been shaped by his family's legacy rather than individual actions. During Donald Trump's presidency, he remained largely out of view compared to other members of his family who frequently engaged with media narratives. For many observers, this absence led to assumptions about his character or beliefs. However, those close to him knew that his silence did not equate to indifference. Instead, it reflected a carefully cultivated sense of self-awareness, a desire to protect his own identity while grappling with what it means to carry such a heavy name. As adolescence approached, a time when young people typically seek to define their identities, Barron found himself at a crossroads. Conversations around the dinner table often included discussions about governance and national symbols. This exposure equipped him with insights into patriotism that many teenagers might lack, that he learned that symbols like the American flag carry profound meanings for various individuals, some viewing it as a representation of hope and sacrifice, while others may see it through a more critical lens shaped by personal experiences. When Professor Matthews initiated the discussion that sparked such intense reactions among students regarding the flag's significance, it struck Barron deeply not merely as an emblem, but as something profoundly tied to his upbringing and values instilled by both parents. With every word spoken by Matthews questioning its relevance or value in contemporary society came an impulse within Barron, a powerful urge to advocate for something he held dear to. In that pivotal classroom moment when Matthews made dismissive remarks about the flag's meaning among Americans, remarks that stirred both shock and debate within his classmates, Barron felt compelled not only to speak up, but also to do so with authenticity rooted in experience rather than mere rhetoric or familial expectation. His upbringing had equipped him with lessons about empathy toward differing opinions while simultaneously reinforcing respect for those symbols representing shared struggles across generations. He articulated his thoughts during class, advocating for loyalty towards ideals embodied by national symbols. It became clear that these sentiments resonated well beyond personal attachment. They reflected countless others who found solace and strength within those very same ideals during challenging times throughout history. This moment marked not just an opportunity for Barron to stand against perceived disrespect, but also served as a reflection of how upbringing shapes responses toward societal issues faced within educational environments today. Amidst shifting dynamics where respect could sometimes feel overshadowed by cynicism or doubt surrounding traditional values, emerged within young hearts' yearning connection, all forged through interwoven stories entwined together, forming rich tapestries colored vibrantly alive, echoing profound journeys traveled. Seeking harmony amid differences, celebrated distinctly cherished, weaving friendships, blossoming forever across bridges built resiliently, forging bonds, illuminating futures, brightened ever onward, discovering light, guiding endless paths, stretching forth where wonder unfolds, inviting dialogues, enriching lives, interlaced forevermore, eternally connecting hearts, discovering unity, resonating beautifully, transcending boundaries formed. Over ages, seeking solace, nurturing joy, breathing, freely embracing. All moments shared, honoring diversity, celebrated harmoniously across sprawling landscapes, traversed lovingly, forever etched along horizons, painted vividly, welcoming dreams, nurtured lovingly together. As Professor Matthews continued to articulate his views on the American flag, the atmosphere in the classroom shifted from curiosity to palpable tension. With a commanding presence, he leaned against his desk, gesturing animatedly as he laid out his argument. "Let's face it," he began, his tone dripping with skepticism. The American flag is often hailed as a universal symbol of freedom and democracy. But can we really say it represents all Americans? His voice rose slightly, emphasizing each word as if to ensure maximum impact. To many, it's become a mere piece of fabric, a tool used to promote agendas that diverge from the very principles it's supposed to symbolize. The students who had previously engaged eagerly in class discussions were now gripped by a mix of shock and confusion. Eyes widened and heads turned. Some students exchanged furtive glances while others leaned forward in disbelief. Matthews continued, "In discussions of nationalism, we must also consider who gets left behind. The flag can signify exclusion rather than inclusion for those who feel marginalized by the very ideals it represents." His words hung heavy in the air, igniting a spark of dissent among some students while leaving others visibly unsettled. The professor had struck a nerve. His provocative rhetoric challenged the deeply held beliefs that many of them had grown up with at this moment. The dynamics within the classroom transformed dramatically. The previous atmosphere of camaraderie among peers gave way to an undercurrent of conflict as students grappled with their emotions and opinions about Matthews's statements. Some nodded in agreement with their professor, emboldened by his confidence in critiquing such a revered symbol. Others, however, felt a growing indignation bubbling beneath the surface. Matthews leaned further into his argument, adopting an almost theatrical flair as he spoke. "You see," he said, lowering his voice to draw everyone in closer. "When individuals wrap themselves in this flag during protests or rallies, are they truly honoring what it stands for? Or are they merely using it to serve their own purposes?" His questioning tone resonated throughout the room, stirring feelings of discomfort and uncertainty among students who had once viewed the flag through lenses of pride and patriotism. The tension escalated when Matthews added, "For too long, we've allowed this symbol to shield us from recognizing our own failings as a nation, that we need to confront these truths head-on instead of clinging blindly to an emblem that has been co-opted for political gain." This was no longer just a lecture. It transformed into an impassioned plea for introspection and critical dialogue about America's identity. With every word Matthews spoke, Barron Trump felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him more heavily than before. It was increasingly clear that his classmates were divided on how to react. Some leaned towards silence and introspection, while others whispered among themselves. Quiet debates ignited by their professor's provocative assertions. It was then that Barron realized he could not remain passive any longer. "Professor Matthews," Barron finally interjected after mustering considerable courage amidst the charged atmosphere. He raised his hand and drew attention towards himself. A hush fell over the classroom. Curiosity shifted from the professor back to him in anticipation of what he would say next. He took a moment to gather his thoughts before continuing. "I believe it's essential to recognize that for many people, the flag serves as more than just an object or a political tool. It embodies hope and unity." His voice rang out clearly despite the residual tension hanging overhead. There was no mistaking the passion behind his words. Barron pressed on earnestly. "The flag represents sacrifices made by countless Americans who fought for freedom throughout history. It signifies resilience in times of struggle." As he spoke, eyes focused intently on him, their expressions ranging from surprise at his assertiveness to admiration for articulating sentiments many were hesitant to express aloud. This sudden shift from passive observing to active participation flooded Barron with confidence, fueled by years spent witnessing how vital symbols play roles beyond mere appearances within societal frameworks covered by politics. A conviction deeply rooted within him nurtured alongside lessons learned cradling. Intimate memories shared among families bonded tightly together through histories rich amid complexities endlessly flowing forth, weaving unity, shaping shared identity, resisting fragmentation, inviting fresh conversations, blossoming across horizons, treasuring diverse viewpoints, held dear, always poised, ever welcoming brighter futures, beckoning forth deeper understandings, interwoven brighter dreams, seeking connection, illuminating. bonds eternally refreshed, echoing prosperity, rooted timelessness. Embracing journeys, stretching wide, inviting compassionate dialogues, nourishing growth, immensely desired, reaching heights above far. With every passing second, students absorbed Barron's words, passionately advocating something so many had felt yet struggled to express amid intellectual debate. They heard not just opposition towards Matthews's claims, but also callings uniting hearts filled respectfully, standing strong together, embodying legacies, enriched, fostering connections, thriving brightly, ever lighting precious paths, forged beautifully woven alliances, emerging, reinforcing loyalty, dedicated, uplifting dreams cherished. Surrounding warmth, sanctified, forever, grateful, alive, touching lives, nurturing aspirations, drawing joyously connected souls, promising threaded glories meant. As Barron's speech reached its crescendo, the class began resonating between those seeking clarity, standing firm. This newfound movement encouraged transformations, nurturing boldness, breathing life into debates, exploring identities, seeking deeper resonance, shining both vibrantly, illuminating spaces, clothed gracefully, encouraging deeper reflections, ever-refreshing shared journeys, carrying forth alive, embracing gentleness woven within love, joined opening doors, lending voices wanting nurturing. Relationships where tender whispers heard flourishing together across summits, rising, soaring, yielding warmth, infusing compassion endlessly. As Professor Matthews's comments hung in the air, a wave of reactions washed over the classroom, capturing the moment of tension that had suddenly enveloped the space. Students exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of shock, disbelief, and contemplation. The once lively discussions that had characterized the room now faded into whispers and murmurs as they processed the gravity of their professor's words. In the front row, Sarah, a passionate student who often engaged in debates, furrowed her brow as she considered Matthews's assertion. Is he saying that our flag doesn't mean anything? She wondered silently, perplexed by the idea that something she held dear could be reduced to mere fabric. Next to her, Jake, known for his outspoken nature, leaned back in his seat, arms crossed tightly over his chest. He nodded slightly in agreement with Matthews's stance, convinced that the professor was challenging students to think critically about their beliefs, a perspective he found refreshing. To the back of the room, Barron Trump observed his classmates' reactions closely. He could sense the tension radiating from their discomfort. Some students were visibly upset, while others appeared intrigued by Matthews's bold claims. A few had even begun to engage in quiet side conversations, weighing their thoughts against what the professor had said, debating whether they should align with his critique or defend the flag as a symbol of pride. Among those watching intently was Mia, a classmate who had always considered herself a proud American. As Matthews spoke of exclusion associated with the flag, she felt her heart racing. How can he say that? She thought to herself. The flag represents everything we stand for. Yet, despite her initial instinct to defend it, Mia found herself questioning her own beliefs as she listened to Matthews elaborate on his views. Maybe there's truth in what he's saying, she pondered, processing the various perspectives swirling around her. This internal conflict mirrored that of several students around her, caught between loyalty to symbols they cherished and a newfound awareness of differing interpretations. Barron felt the tension build further. He recognized an opportunity. He sensed that many were grappling with similar feelings but lacked the confidence to voice them. When he finally raised his hand to speak, all eyes turned toward him. His classmates were eager for direction amid their indecision. Professor Matthews, Barron began earnestly, his voice clear, yet steady despite the pressure of being in the spotlight. I believe it's essential to recognize that for many people, the flag serves as more than just an object or a political tool. It embodies hope and unity. His declaration resonated with strong conviction, and the sincerity behind it drew attention from students who had hesitated earlier. A ripple of recognition passed through the classroom as students shifted in their seats. Some straightened up while others leaned forward intently. They were intrigued by Barron's boldness, This was not just any student speaking up. It was Barron Trump, whose family name carried weight and expectations. Sarah felt a spark ignite within her as she listened. What Barron said echoed her own sentiments, but had been clouded by doubts raised earlier. Yes, exactly, she thought, feeling emboldened by his words. Others in the room shared similar sentiments. Admiration mixed with surprise, as they processed Barron's impassioned defense of ideals so many cherished yet struggled to express amid growing polarization. They were starting to see him not just as a name, but as someone genuinely engaging with their shared experiences and values. Yet there were still students like Jake who remained skeptical. He raised an eyebrow at Barron's comments and whispered to a friend seated next to him, "Does he really believe that? Is he just saying what people expect him to say?" His doubt lingered in contrast to other classmates who rallied behind Barron's message of unity. Barron continued, articulating his thoughts on sacrifice and resilience associated with the flag. He noticed some students nodding slowly along with him, their faces shifting from skepticism to understanding as they absorbed his perspective. It was evident that Barron's words resonated with those who had been uncertain or apprehensive about speaking out against Matthews's earlier remarks. The atmosphere began to shift once more. Students felt emboldened by Barron's courage to stand up and voice what many were thinking but hadn't articulated yet. Mia found herself leaning forward in anticipation of how this exchange would unfold. Her earlier doubts began dissipating as newfound clarity emerged from Barron's conviction. "I admire his bravery," she whispered quietly to another classmate who nodded appreciatively in agreement. The solidarity growing among peers began cultivating an environment where dialogue could thrive, where perspectives previously silenced were finally finding their voice amid a tapestry woven together from diverse experiences yearning for connection. Barron concluded his statement about hope and unity embodied by the flag, his passion palpable in every word. The classroom erupted into murmurs once more. The initial shockwaves created by Matthews's comments had morphed into spirited discussions among students eager to share their thoughts on identity and representation. This moment marked a pivotal shift within the classroom dynamic, no longer solely focused on a single narrative dictated by authority figures. Students began exploring ideas collaboratively, sharing insights shaped by personal histories and values intertwined deeply with collective experiences each had faced throughout their lives. Tension transformed into engagement, a moment where opinions clashed, yet also coalesced toward understanding rather than division, fostering healthy dialogue aimed at mutual respect. Voices rose and fell across varying pitches. The classroom became alive with energy fueled by passionate hearts eager to connect deeply rather than simply agree or disagree. It was an awakening moment, inviting all to participate actively in shaping narratives entwined beautifully, revealing vibrant tapestries, filled promise blooming everywhere. In the midst of the charged atmosphere swirling with uncertainty and tension, Barron Trump felt an imperative to voice his thoughts. The silence that followed Professor Matthews's provocative remarks weighed heavily on him. An opportunity to speak up was now or never. With a deep breath, he raised his hand, and a hush fell across the classroom, all eyes quickly shifting toward him. "Professor Matthews," Barron began, his voice steady and resolute, "I believe it's essential to recognize that for many people, the flag serves as more than just an object or a political tool. It embodies hope and unity." His words echoed through the room with clarity, cutting through the tension like a knife. He could feel the weight of his peers' gazes upon him, some filled with curiosity, others intrigued, and a few still skeptical. But Barron's confidence surged as he continued. "The American flag represents sacrifices made by countless individuals throughout history who fought for freedom and justice. The IT signifies resilience in times of struggle." With each sentence, Barron's demeanor radiated conviction that he stood tall at the front of the room, his shoulders back, fully present in the moment. This was not just about defending a symbol. It was about standing up for what he believed in and calling upon those around him to reflect on their feelings towards their national identity. He gestured subtly towards the flag hanging on the wall behind him, allowing its presence to reinforce his points. To many Americans, he stated firmly, the flag is much more than mere fabric. It is a representation of our ideals, what we strive for as a nation. The sincerity in his voice resonated deeply within the classroom as students leaned in closer, drawn to his passionate defense. Barron pressed on passionately. When we see displays of our flag at parades or community events, he emphasized, we feel pride in what it stands for, a reminder of our shared values and collective strength. His words were infused with conviction, the kind of strength that inspired others to reconsider their stance on the subject at hand. In that moment, recognition washed over Mia, sitting toward the back of the class. Yes, she listened intently to Barron speak with such authority and heart. She realized he was articulating sentiments she had felt but struggled to express herself, that a sense of admiration bubbled up inside her. Here was someone willing to take a stand for what so many had cherished but were hesitant to defend openly. S. Barron continued his impassioned plea. He acknowledged Matthews's earlier comments regarding exclusion associated with national symbols. Yes, he said thoughtfully, there are complex narratives surrounding the flag's meaning, and it's vital that we engage critically with our history. He maintained respect for differing perspectives while reinforcing the importance of unity built on shared beliefs. If we disregard symbols that many hold sacred, Barron cautioned, we risk alienating those who draw strength from them. His gaze swept across the classroom once more as he concluded with a heartfelt appeal. We must strive for inclusivity in our conversations while also honoring what brings us together. The impact of Barron's words was immediate. Students shifted in their seats. Some nodded along as understanding began to seep through initial doubts shaped by Matthews's earlier remarks. The atmosphere transformed from one steeped in uncertainty into a vibrant dialogue fueled by newfound courage, sparked by Barron's confidence. Jake sat quietly considering what Barron had just articulated. A subtle shift began unfolding within him as well. Questions floated through his mind about whether there was room for both critical discussions and reverence for symbols like the flag. For every student caught between conflicting feelings before this moment, now came alive with energy ready to engage earnestly within dialogues forged from genuine connections rather than mere assertions thrown carelessly around classrooms. AS applause-filled moments echoing amidst classmates, surrounded by invigorated discussions, rising steadily sharing opinions respectfully. It became evident how this singular voice had catalyzed deeper connections, weaving paths together, inviting understanding not achieved before. Barron's confidence stood out brightly against previous silence, settled thickly upon classrooms, struggling, finding language, bridging gaps, faded behind labels, demanded outward conformity, where authenticity long desperately required exposure, revealing true depth, seeking resonance, glowing warmly, welcoming diverse experiences, unfurling beautifully, elaborating horizons, endless possibilities invited. Gathering around collective exploration, forged lovingly across spaces, knit tightly woven tapestry, illuminating bright futures, converging interwoven legacies, emerging born amid challenges, transforming ripples into waves, gently pushing deeper connections, fastened firmly across, sees hope, laughter, resounding everywhere, exuding warmth, inviting openness, nurturing belonging, breathing life. Together, promising, thriving stories need sharing. Creating bonds, fortified human touch, forging dreams, sparkled wide. Away reaching far, embracing passion, blooming exploratory hearts abound. S-class discussions flourished around intricate layers, open voices invited resonate more fervently than ever before, driven onward toward smiles, reflecting friendships, rooted strongly imagined, achieving transformations, honored time, weaving threads, linking shared visions, reaching out brightened, illuminating wider shores, beckoning everyone, cultivating engagement. Touching hearts, leading forth, encouraging active participation. Minds free, enlivened, journeys forward. They emerge together, beautiful, discovering unity, lively sequined across radiant landscapes, always forever remembered. As Barron concluded his passionate defense of the American flag, the atmosphere in the classroom shifted dramatically. The initial tension that had gripped the students in response to Professor Matthews's comments began to dissipate, replaced by a wave of energized reactions. Eyes darted across the room as students processed what they had just heard, each grappling with their own thoughts and feelings stirred by Barron's words. In the front row, Sarah felt a surge of pride welling up inside. She leaned toward her friend and whispered, "Finally, someone said what we've all been thinking." It was clear that Barron's remarks resonated deeply with her. She had struggled silently with her feelings about the flag and felt a sense of validation in his defense. Next to her, Jake, who had initially agreed with Matthews's critique, sat in contemplation, his brows furrowed as he considered Barron's perspective. Maybe he has a point, he thought, recognizing that his earlier stance had been somewhat one-dimensional. He found himself questioning whether he had overlooked the broader significance of the flag, as a symbol of resilience and hope rather than just a political emblem. The back of the room, Mia sat with her heart racing, feeling emboldened by Barron's assertiveness. She hadn't expected him to articulate such powerful sentiments and suddenly felt inspired to share her own views. "I think I want to say something next," she thought, recalling her earlier doubts around expressing her beliefs. Murmurs spread across the classroom. A few students began to voice their agreement with Barron's assertions out loud. "Yeah, the flag does mean something special," one classmate exclaimed, prompting nods from those nearby. This spontaneous expression of support invigorated the room further and drew others into the conversation. Yet not everyone was fully on board with Barron's viewpoint. A handful of students remained skeptical or conflicted, unsure about how to reconcile their previous feelings with the newfound dialogue sparked by his intervention. One student crossed their arms tightly and maintained a stony silence while glancing sideways at those engaging enthusiastically with Barron's defense. It was clear that the classroom was becoming a microcosm of diverse opinions. Some voices championing unity, while others hesitated between loyalty to beliefs they'd held for years and the possibilities for deeper understanding. "Barron really took a stand," remarked another student as discussions flared up around him. Some classmates began sharing personal anecdotes related to what the flag meant to them, recounting moments from family traditions or community gatherings where it had played a central role. The enthusiasm in their voices underscored how deeply each individual connected to national symbols on emotional levels. Professor Matthews, sensing the shift in dynamics, observed quietly from his position at the front of the room. His expression revealed mixed emotions: admiration for Barron's courageous stance, but also a growing discomfort at being challenged in such an open forum that he realized that this wasn't merely an academic debate anymore. It was becoming a vital discussion about identity, belonging, and respect among his students. With tensions easing, a sense of camaraderie began to blossom as students rallied together around shared sentiments expressed through varying interpretations of patriotism. Voices rose and fell across the classroom, weaving discussions into something collective rather than divisive. This newfound energy created an infectious atmosphere where even those who had initially remained silent found themselves wanting to join in. "Barron's right," shouted one student, enthusiasm spilling over. "The flag isn't just a symbol, it's part of our lives." The affirmation ignited an even livelier exchange. Students were now engaging with one another face-to-face rather than merely reacting to authority figures. Mia finally found her moment to speak up. "I agree with Barron," she voiced confidently, feeling supported by the energized atmosphere surrounding her. "The flag means so much more to us than just a political tool. It is our heritage." Her words were met with immediate applause and cheers from her classmates, further fueling an environment where authenticity was celebrated rather than stifled. The exchanges continued organically as students delved deeper into their perspectives. Challenges posed by Matthews seemed to fade away amid sincere conversations about what it truly meant to be united under a shared symbol like the American flag. Laughter erupted as classmates playfully debated aspects of pride versus critical engagement. Lively dialogues flourished where previously there had been tension. Barron stood back for a moment, observing his classmates passionately discuss their beliefs. A sense of fulfillment washed over him. This was what he had hoped would happen when he decided to speak up. He saw how his words had not only reinforced his own convictions, but had also sparked something meaningful among his peers. As the class period drew toward its conclusion, Professor Matthews finally decided to interject again. Not to shut down discussions, but rather to guide them toward deeper exploration. "I see that you all have strong feelings about this topic," he began, his tone more conciliatory than before. "Perhaps we can continue this discussion next class. I encourage everyone to think critically, but also consider how symbols can unite us." Students nodded in agreement, enthusiasm spilling over as they anticipated continuing their conversations beyond that day, sharing stories during lunch, or even forming study groups focused on exploring identities further within their educational journeys together. This pivotal moment marked not just a classroom discussion, but an awakening, a collective realization that engagement was possible when empathy merged with personal experiences crafted distinctly across diverse lives, bound warmly intertwined, continuously navigating through varied perspectives, seeking connection. The incident in Professor Matthews's classroom illuminated important broader implications regarding respect for national symbols, particularly the American flag, within educational settings. As Barron passionately defended the flag's significance, it became clear that discussions surrounding symbols of national identity often reveal generational divides in perspectives on patriotism. For many students, especially those from younger generations, symbols such as the American flag evoke complex emotions and associations shaped by personal and familial experiences. Barron's remarks captured a sentiment of pride and hope that resonates deeply for some, reflecting a belief that the flag embodies values like freedom and unity. His defense served as a reminder of how powerful national symbols can be when viewed through lenses of personal connection, collective sacrifice, and resilience. However, the classroom dynamic also highlighted an increasing awareness among students about the flag's dual nature as both a symbol of pride and one that can invoke criticism or feelings of exclusion. Matthews's earlier comments challenged students to think critically about their attachments to such symbols, shedding light on how these discussions can generate discomfort or dissent among diverse audiences with varying interpretations of what patriotism means today. The mixed reactions among students during this debate revealed that many grappled with contrasting views on national identity. For some, like Sarah and Mia, Barron's words resonated strongly. They felt seen and validated in their beliefs about the flag's importance. Others, like Jake, began to reconsider their earlier viewpoints as they listened closely to Barron's passionate defense. This back and forth not only facilitated individual reflection, but also stimulated a collective dialogue that transcended binary agree-disagree frameworks. Furthermore, this incident illuminated the challenges educators face when navigating sensitive subjects in academic environments. Professor Matthews aimed to foster critical thinking by questioning commonly accepted narratives about national symbols. Still, the resulting tension underscored how easily discussions about issues tied to identity can become fraught with emotional complexity. The classroom transformed into a microcosm of broader societal debates surrounding nationalism, revealing both opportunities for engagement and potential pitfalls when addressing such topics, as students began sharing personal anecdotes linked to the flag, stories of family traditions, military service, or community gatherings. An enriching exchange unfolded. These narratives served as vital reminders that patriotism is not merely an abstract concept, but rather deeply embedded within individual lived experiences. This realization fostered an environment where voices could coalesce around shared sentiments rather than merely react against opposing viewpoints. Barron's intervention acted as a catalyst for this transformation. His willingness to challenge authority figures while articulating heartfelt convictions inspired classmates to shed reservations about expressing their feelings openly. The classroom buzzed with renewed energy as students engaged in dialogues enriched by emotional resonance. the kind that fosters deeper understanding among peers navigating similar, yet distinct pathways toward identity formation. This moment also raised critical questions about how respect for national symbols is taught within schools across generations. Educators are often tasked with facilitating discussions around complex topics related to identity while nurturing spaces where dissenting opinions can coexist productively. In this case, Matthews's approach prompted reflection, but also demonstrated the importance of creating safe environments where conversations occur without fear of alienation. In recognizing the potential divides in opinion among students regarding patriotism, it becomes evident that fostering respectful dialogue requires sensitivity toward individuals' unique backgrounds and experiences. While some may view the flag as an emblem of resilience, imbued with ideals worth celebrating, others might experience it differently based on their histories or sociopolitical contexts. Moreover, this incident invites educators to consider how inclusivity can shape discussions around symbolism in ways that promote unity rather than division. Understanding how various perspectives intersect enriches conversations while encouraging exploration grounded in empathy and understanding. Ultimately, what transpired in Matthews's classroom exemplifies broader societal challenges surrounding national identity today. Balancing respect for symbolic representation while critically engaging with histories tied intricately into lived realities across generational lines remains vital within educational settings, striving for meaningful engagement. Amid diversity found everywhere expanding continuously toward horizons bright, as students left class that day deeply moved by their exchanges. Their perspectives collectively broadened through active participation, approaching unity, inviting connections made alive. They were reminded once more how significant moments arise unexpectedly within classrooms, becoming pivotal, turning points, driving forth explorative journeys, forever intertwined, embracing authenticity richly etched. Following the incident, in Professor Matthews's classroom, media coverage exploded across various outlets, each presenting differing interpretations of Barron Trump's intervention and the professor's controversial remarks. Social media platforms lit up with reactions from students, parents, and public figures alike, reflecting a wide array of opinions that underscored the deeply polarized nature of contemporary discussions surrounding patriotism and national symbols. News outlets quickly picked up on the story, framing it through lenses that varied significantly based on their audience and editorial slant. Some conservative-leaning sites praised Barron for his articulate defense of the American flag, framing him as a young patriot willing to stand against perceived disrespect toward a symbol they believe embodies American ideals. Headlines celebrated his courage and emphasized how his remarks served as a counterpoint to Matthews's statements, which were viewed by some as an affront to traditional values. Conversely, more progressive news outlets took a critical stance on Matthews's comments, but also scrutinized Barron's response. They highlighted the complexities surrounding national symbols like the flag, suggesting that while patriotism is important, it must be examined through the lens of inclusivity and historical context. These outlets discussed how Barron's defense reflected a generational divide regarding what patriotism means today, a nuanced perspective that many younger Americans are beginning to adopt. On social media, reactions spread like wildfire. Twitter was flooded with clips of Barron's remarks and responses from classmates. Supporters rallied around hashtags like #BarronTrump and #DefendTheFlag, praising his defense as a reflection of genuine American values and encouraging others to share their own stories related to patriotism. Many users expressed pride in seeing someone from a prominent family publicly affirming traditional ideals. However, this wave of support was met with backlash from others who felt that Barron's comments oversimplified a complicated issue. Critics argued that his defense failed to acknowledge valid critiques of nationalism and how symbols can sometimes perpetuate exclusion rather than unity. Users on platforms like TikTok and Instagram shared videos critiquing both Barron and Matthews. Some presented arguments about the need for critical engagement with national symbols rather than blind allegiance. Among students sharing their perspectives online were those who had been present during the classroom discussion. Many expressed how Barron's response gave them confidence to voice their own thoughts about the flag's meaning in their lives. The incident resonated beyond the walls of academia. It became part of larger conversations about identity within America, particularly among younger generations grappling with issues of representation and belonging. As analysts weighed in on various cable news channels, discussions shifted toward broader implications for education itself. Commentators emphasized how incidents like this could serve as teachable moments for educators navigating sensitive topics related to national identity. Debates emerged about whether classrooms should embrace open dialogue around such polarizing subjects, or if they risk fostering division among students holding contrasting beliefs. Some educators chimed in on social media platforms advocating for more inclusive curricula that recognize diverse narratives tied to symbols like the American flag, suggesting that patriotism can manifest differently across various cultures and histories within America's fabric. This growing dialogue touched upon important questions regarding how educational institutions might prepare students not just to engage with differing viewpoints, but also to respect personal connections individuals have with national identity. In this charged atmosphere online, commentators began discussing potential divides between generations regarding patriotic sentiment. Younger individuals often emphasize inclusivity when considering national identity, challenging traditional narratives held by older generations who may view such symbols primarily through the lens of pride, without questioning their implications or interpretations over time. This incident became emblematic of broader societal tensions surrounding nationalism today, a moment where multiple voices converged around a single topic, yet revealed complex layers beneath surface-level discussions about loyalty versus critique regarding what it means to be proud citizens navigating identities filled with rich histories. Interwoven through aspirations, longing for connection amidst diversity persistently sought after forever onward. As class discussions continued beyond individual interactions sparked by Barron's remarks, the dialogue, shifting rapidly within communities, transformed into vibrant explorations thriving collectively. They enriched understanding not only among peers present during those pivotal moments, captured beautifully, forever framed across memory. It inspired deeper commitments championed towards forging unity together amidst evolving landscapes filled endlessly, embracing dreams, beckoning brighter horizons, always inviting roads crafted tenderly forward. As the classroom discussion surrounding Barron Trump's defense of the American flag came to a close, several key takeaways emerged from the incident, reflecting its potential significance in today's cultural climate concerning free speech, education, and patriotism. The event not only highlighted the importance of engaging in meaningful conversations about national symbols, but also served as a reminder of the diverse perspectives that exist within educational settings. At its core, this incident is emblematic of the current societal debates regarding what it means to be patriotic in an age where identity and representation are increasingly foreground in conversations about national pride. This discussion exposed the generational divides that shape varying interpretations of symbols like the American flag. For many younger individuals, patriotism is not merely about blind loyalty. It involves critical engagement with history and an acknowledgement of the complexities associated with national identity. Barron's remarks encapsulated a longing for unity and hope, showcasing how personal connections influence one's understanding of patriotism in a rapidly changing world. Moreover, the reactions from students illustrated how powerful it can be when individuals use their voices to advocate for their beliefs. Barron's confidence in defending a symbol that resonates deeply with many reflects a broader trend where young people feel empowered to speak out against perceived injustices or disrespect towards their values. This notion is vital within educational contexts, where fostering an environment that encourages open dialogue can enhance student engagement and promote critical thinking. The media response following the classroom incident further amplified these themes, demonstrating how interpretations of patriotism can vary widely based on editorial perspectives. Coverage ranged from supportive portrayals of Barron's stance as a young patriot to critical analyses that questioned the simplification of complex issues surrounding nationalism. This divergence underscores the necessity for nuanced discussions, both in academic settings and within public discourse, about what it means to honor national symbols while recognizing their multifaceted histories. Additionally, Professor Matthews's provocative comments prompted reflection on the role educators play in facilitating discussions about sensitive topics. Striking a balance between encouraging critical thinking and respecting students' personal connections to national identity can be challenging. This incident serves as a valuable case study for educators navigating similar discussions. It emphasizes the need for classrooms to be spaces where differing opinions can coexist and be explored productively rather than leading to divisiveness. Furthermore, as students navigated their reactions, some in support of Barron and others expressing skepticism, a lesson on empathy emerged. The ability to understand and respect differing viewpoints is crucial in today's polarized climate. This incident demonstrated that engaging with contrasting opinions can foster deeper connections among peers, enabling them to share personal experiences tied to identity and symbolically rich narratives. In reflecting on this event, it becomes evident that discussions about national symbols like the American flag are not merely academic exercises, but rather pivotal opportunities for students to explore their beliefs and values. Sharing personal anecdotes related to pride in their heritage or stories reflecting family traditions, students enrich the conversation and move toward a collective understanding of what it means to belong to a nation with shared ideals. Ultimately, this incident highlights our ongoing cultural negotiation around national identity and symbolism. As society becomes increasingly aware of the need for inclusivity, there is tremendous potential for educational settings to cultivate respectful conversations that bridge generational divides regarding patriotism. Moving forward from this moment carries broader implications for how future generations will engage with symbols of national identity, embracing open dialogue that honors diverse perspectives while nurturing critical engagement with the past. Educators have the opportunity to shape how young individuals understand their role as citizens within an ever-evolving national narrative. As students departed from that classroom experience, empowered by the discussions and reflection sparked by Barron's stance, they were reminded that significant moments can arise unexpectedly within educational spaces. This incident not only provided an opportunity for self-expression, but also reinforced the idea that navigating complex topics requires courage, openness, and commitment towards fostering unity amid diversity. In conclusion, Barron Trump's intervention served as a catalyst for deeper exploration into what patriotism means today, a reminder that respect for national symbols does not solely rest on blind allegiance, but rather involves thoughtful consideration of their implications across cultures and histories. Embracing such dialogues, we pave the way for future generations to understand both the challenges and responsibilities tied to their identities, while fostering connections that transcend simplistic binaries surrounding concepts of nationalism.